Hello and welcome to the Khan Stadium on Randall's Island in New York City, the largest metropolis in New York State and the most populous in the USA. New York itself, of course, has long been known as a gateway for immigration to the United States, and its status as a financial, cultural, transportation and manufacturing centre is unrivaled in the USA. Steve Cram and myself, Tim Hutchings, with you on a hot and sticky New York afternoon. And this astonishing city, well, it's a first-choice destination for millions of visitors every year, and it's easy to see why, with the bustling and infectious vibrancy of Manhattan giving every day a real buzz. Well, today that attraction has pulled in some of the world's biggest names in track and field athletics. The Khan Stadium itself sits in the shadow of the Tri-Borough Bridge, which links Queens with Manhattan. We're only about a 15-minute cab ride from Times Square and the real heartbeat of the city. Well, a couple of hours of great action for you from this beautifully prepared stadium. It's a fairly small facility, but conditions are wonderful. It's a warm afternoon, as you can see, 25 degrees centigrade, quite high humidity, glorious, not cloudless sky, but a very, very warm day, and a wonderful crowd here with about two-thirds of the 15,000 capacity made up of Jamaicans, we understand. Now, the first event on the track, the men's 400-metre hurdles.
Thanks, Tim. And a very warm welcome to everybody. This is a great race to start us off with this afternoon. This man is the fastest in the world this year so far, young Javier Coulson from Puerto Rico. But there are a couple of other well-known names who may well fancy their chances of finishing ahead of the tall youngster. This is out in lane 7, Jehu Gordon from Trinidad. He's only got one athlete outside him, and that's Luis van Zyl from South Africa. Big crowd in, as Tim was saying. Great little compact stadium, good atmosphere already being generated here. They've all just been brought up to date with latest goings on elsewhere in the world at the World Cup, and there's one or two cheers of the results there, but I'm sure a lot of their attention is on what's in front of them. So the lineup for this first event: Felix Sanchez, former, well, he's still an all-time great at 400 hurdles, isn't he? He's in lane 1, and Isa Phillips, Jamaica's in 2, then Coulson, Karen Clement, the two-time world champion in 4, Michael Tinsley, Bashawn Jackson, Gordon and Van Zyl. Well, I'm already going to award Felix Sanchez the best turned out athlete of the afternoon so far. You can't see it, but he's got a very nutty strip there, all in white, and he's wearing what I can only describe as kind of calf socks, but they're not socks, if you know what I mean. It's all matching, it all looks perfectly wonderful. If they may just pan away and see exactly how it looks, just watch this. Oh, see, I knew as soon as I said that we wouldn't get a view. Anyway, Karen Clement will be hoping that he can maintain what's been a pretty solid start to the season. I think they're all shocked a little bit by Coulson running so fast, 47.72 about, what, a month ago or so now, but he's in lane 3 inside Clement, then he's got Tinsley outside him, and then Bashawn Jackson, of course. Clement and Jackson, well, their head-to-head record is 13-12 to Jackson out of 25 starts. So where they go first time, of course, no false starts anymore. You're disqualified for an automatic disqualification for any false starts. They win nice and cleanly, and I can already see Coulson is right up on Clement and has started pretty fast through that first 100 metres down the back straight. He's got a slight lead as usual. Bashawn Jackson just trailing a little bit. It's Coulson and Clement through that first 200, and Coulson has started very, very quickly indeed. Tall figure with the headband, he'll come round into the home straight. Clement starting to come back into it. Jackson turning it on now, and there's going to be a real scrap now into the home straight. Can Coulson hang on to this? Clement's looking strong, and Jackson with his usual charge, the three of them pulling away from the rest of the field. Sanchez going well, right on the inside as well. This is going to be close. Jackson takes that hurdle the best, and he just gets an advantage, but Clement comes back. Clement's going to win it from Jackson. Coulson faded for third place. 47.87, a new meeting record. And that is a season's best for Karen Clement. It's all going in the right direction for him. He had to fight in the end because Jackson certainly took that last hurdle the best of the two. Looked as though he had the advantage, but Clement just dug deep enough to find a little extra over the last 25 metres. Tim.
What a great start to the international programme. What a battle that Clement had to put on here to get past Jackson on the outside in lane 6. Full credit to him because he was running blind for the first 300. He kicked hard, but Clement had time to respond, and that little battle pulled them both well clear of the third place of their Coulson, the race-long leader. He really took it to them, didn't he, Coulson? Wonderful run, and sub 48 seconds is special. Well, it confirms too what glorious conditions we've got this afternoon. I like that touch, a tape for them to actually break through about 1.5 meters past the finish line, where the photo finish timing will be taking their real time, but it's a nice little touch.
Well, I'm sure that'll be confirmed as both of them going under 48 seconds. As I said at the start of the race, only Coulson so far under 48 seconds this year, so the 400 hurdles really starting to get going. And don't forget, it's all about the diamond race, picking up the points as we move through the season. And that will mean that Clement will sit now on top when we get it all cleared up, because he was level with 6 points with Bashaw and Jackson, both of them having a win in a second place so far. So their battle continues.
Yeah, just to confirm for those of you who are joining us, you might not have seen many of the Diamond League meetings so far this season. This is the 5th meeting of a series of 14 that spread through this summer, finish in late August. And the first 3 in each event, Diamond League events, awarded points: 4 for the winner, 2 for second, 1 for third. And each event takes place in 7 meetings through the summer, and it's as many points as you can accumulate in your 7 event editions, so to speak, through the summer that end up with your event total. And there's $40,000 for the winner of each event, and almost $500,000 being awarded to all the athletes from the different events. Well, the next event on the track is the men's 800 meters. Really strong field for that one. There's a lot of action too on the infield. A high jump competition underway. The men's javelin due to start in about 20 minutes time, with Torkildsen of Norway, the double Olympic champion, going in that one. The men's pole vault also underway, or due to be underway very soon. It's a packed program here for a packed stadium. Really a nice surprise. First time I've commentated on a North American track and field meeting for many a year, and they've done a wonderful job. And just the general layout, the general way it's delivered, this meeting has been very strong.
It's almost odd, isn't it? You're in one of the world's, if not the world's biggest metropolis, and we're sort of tucked away on Randall's Island here, just on the other side of the East River from the main part of Manhattan. And you can probably see their bus just disappearing on the freeway overhead behind. You wouldn't know it was here, but as Tim said, it's a lovely little facility. And a lot of them were expecting, and I'm sure many of us were hoping, that Usain Bolt would be racing here today. He is actually here, and many Jamaicans in the crowd. We're surrounded around where we're sitting in the top of that stand with yellow and green almost everywhere. But Bolt with this Achilles tendon problem, not racing. Tyson Gay with, I think, more pressing problems. Tyson Gay really complaining this week that he's getting very frustrated with his inability to stay injury-free. He's really been plagued over the last couple of years with all sorts of problems, hamstrings, etc., and saying he's now, well, almost analysing his whole lifestyle. He's talking about his diet and everything else having to change because his body's not coping with the training demands he's putting on it.
Frustrating for Gay, isn't it? Because obviously his run in Berlin last year at the World Championships made him the second fastest man in history behind Usain Bolt, and he had an operation at the end of the summer on a groin injury which had been nagging him throughout 2009, and even though he raced very well in Manchester a month ago, it's still that groin injury which is keeping Gay at bay, so to speak. And I'm not sure that changing diet is going to actually help things too much. It sounds a lot more like a mechanical problem or a physical problem than something that the diet will really have a decent effect upon. But you've got to try everything, haven't you? While the athletes out on the track for the next event, the 800 on the track.
Well, as Tim said, that's the next one out there. Let's have a look at the result first of all. Karen Clement winning in that new meeting record, 47.86, just 100th taken off that. And as we suspected, Bashaw and Jackson rewarded with a new season's best under 48 seconds as well. Coulson taking the 3rd place. There's the points, 4 points for a win, as we were mentioning earlier on. That now puts Clement ahead of Jackson. They were sitting on 6 each, as I said. Di Green and Van Zillion are the 2 athletes so far to have taken up any points whatsoever. Well, some of the events have already concluded. This is what happened in the women's discus a little earlier on. The Olympic champion Stephanie Brown-Trafton was competing, but she had an awful competition, only throwing about 55 metres. Really poor performance from her. 3rd place went to Pospisilova Chechlova from the Czech Republic. In the first round, she threw 60.71. A bad start at that point, but that was as good as it got for her. And the Americans were hoping to do pretty well, as I said, with Brown Traff and one or two others, but it was Aretha D. Thurman who actually took second place for them in what was a fairly disappointing competition. This was in the fourth round, 61 meters 19. Not really affecting the world lists. When you look at the world list, the name you're going to see in second place is this young lady, Sandra Perkovic. Is just 20, or not quite 20, in fact her birthday's next week, turns 20 next week. Has been a revelation this season, throwing personal best, and another good competition for her here. The Croatian in the very first round throwing 61.96. I think she was hoping to go better after that, but again, she had 3 no throws. Got close in the final round, 61.59, but it was the 61.96 which ended up as the winning throw for her. Just watch out for her this season. Obviously, European Championships coming up, looking like a very exciting year and a big, well, career blossoming for Sandra Perkovic. So a win for her. And again, you can see, I mentioned there, the Olympic champion, Stephanie Brown-Trafton, right down there in 8th place, completely out of sorts. So that now puts Perkovic on top in that event, because she had 1 point from the meet in Doha. So Perkovic now with 5 points leads the diamond race in the discus.
A long way to go yet in this 2010 season, where of course for the American athletes and many other athletes from around the world, there is no major championships, and it means they can just let the season unfold and their form come through when it wants to come through. They don't have to really target their training at a particular date or a particular week, unlike the Europeans that have those European Championships at the end of July in Barcelona, or indeed Commonwealth athletes if they choose to target those Commonwealths in New Delhi in October. Next event on the track then, the men's 800 metres, and what a strong field there is for this one, really top notch. The Diamond League leader in this event is David Rudisha of Kenya, with 2 big wins in Doha and Oslo, and of course it was 8 days ago that we had a fabulous battle in Doha. But it's Umbeleni Malautsi, who is the world champion from Berlin last year. He goes in lane 7, does Malautsi, the world number 5 this year. World indoor champion back in 2004, Olympic silver medalist that same year. Been around a long time, but boy did he run a fabulous race in Berlin last summer to control the final in the Olympic Stadium in Germany. Robinson, Cadavis Robinson, he won 800 in Kingston in 1:47, and then a slightly faster one in California in a week or so ago in 1:46. Cadavis Robinson, he goes in lane 2. But it is a strong field, this one, as I said. Asbel Kiprop, the Olympic champion at 1500 metres, goes in lane 6. He's the 3rd fastest man in the world this year. There is the full lineup for this 800 metres. Nick Simmons, the top American. We believe this is his first 800 metre race of this year. He's got a 1500 under his belt. Well, away they go, just catching that one in time. Nick Simmons in the green there in lane 4. Kiprop's out in lane 6. And the pacemaker here is Joseph Moisey of Haiti, who's due to go out at 50.5. He's on the outside out in lane 8, sharing that lane with Christian Smith of the USA, who's a 144 man at his best. But there's Joseph coming across from the outside, and he's gone off at quite a lick. Nick Simmons right at the back of the field with those orange shoes on is leaving himself with quite a bit of work to do here. Mulautsi in 3rd place, I think, at the moment. And as they come round into the straight, they're not moving particularly quickly. It is Kiprop, the Olympic 1500 metre champion, in 2nd place. He leads them as they come through below us. And actually, it's deceptively quick, 50.64, just about perfect, Steve.
It is good running, and I love watching Kiprop. He's got that lovely languid style, doesn't he? He's very tall, and don't underestimate his speed as well. 1:43 at 800 metres. I think he wants this stretched out, though. This is what he likes. He doesn't want the likes of Diego Malozzi kind of just waiting for the big kick, but they're gathering behind him now. Nick Simmons getting into that group, and Robinson as well. So it's Kiprop there to be shot at over the last 200.
It is in Malautsi on his shoulder. Diego there in the orange top with 200 to 1, 117 at 600 metres. Kiprop hasn't really turned it on, and Malautsi there with a significant acceleration. Remember, he's a 142 man, Malautsi, and he's getting daylight here between himself and the rest of the South African. He's getting well away. He's into an exhibition. Simmons has run a well-measured race. He's coming through in the crowd here in the Khan Stadium. Roar the American home. He's going to lose by 5 metres from a dominant Malautzi there. 1:44.38 from Simmons and Yago in second and third. And Kiprop there looked to be very, very out of sorts, I have to say, considering he was second in Doha, some 3 weeks ago in 1:43.5. He really didn't have a strong run there at all, Asbel Kiprop. But Umbeleni Malautzi, with his first major appearance on the circuit this summer, really looking impressive. He did run 1:45 to win in Daegu about 3 weeks ago, but he's beaten a top-notch field there, Steve, by a country mile in 800-metre terms.
I was doing an interview this week, Tim, with a journalist who was talking to me about from South Africa, talking to me about Malautzi and what I thought about his chances of continuing on in his career and winning medals. And I said the thing I like about him is that he does run well at championships, and Yago as well, who's in this race. But this is a sort of dominant performance that it shows he's in good shape this year. He's got obviously Commonwealth Games coming up later in the season. That's going to be great if David Rudisha's there. But Malautzi, when he's right, when he's fit, I think that was the big point, because he's obviously getting on a little bit now, close to around 30, isn't he? When he's fit and he's running well, he is always very, very difficult to beat, and he's got that strength and that pace. Kiprop, to be fair, ran a poor race, I thought, there when I was talking about him down the back straight. They were all catching him, he wasn't pushing on, so he's looking a little out of sorts, Kiprop there, but you've got to hand it to Malautzi. That was pretty dominant, because when you're leaving the likes of Yago over the last 100, 150 there, then that's pretty impressive.
Well, it was indeed, and a meeting record to boot. 1:44.38 has been confirmed for Malautzi, and it does promise a great deal for him this coming summer. He's actually not 30 until September, so he should be in his prime, and he certainly raced like it just there. He enjoyed that one, didn't he? Of course, the South Africans coming off their summer, and a lot of racing down in the country currently hosting the World Cup Soccer. I wonder if Malautzi's keeping tabs on what's going on. I suspect he will be. Facilities down there in South Africa look every bit as good as they are here today in the Khan Stadium.
Well, it's great, isn't it, Tim? The last couple of days around town, and this is what this meet signifies. New York is just, this melting pot of different nationalities, and we've got so many people here today supporting people from all over the world. You're expecting obviously many American crowd, but I was listening to Alison Felix in a press conference on Friday saying she'd considered this an away meet. There's so many Jamaican fans and kind of Caribbean, etc., that she says they'll be outnumbered by the American fans, and I think she's probably right. But it gives it a great atmosphere, and you mentioned the World Cup football, all the bars around town. Doesn't matter which teams are playing, and they're well represented in New York.
They are indeed. And we had a quick dip into a bar for some brunch this morning, and boy, was it a good atmosphere. Confirmation of the win for Malautzi in that 800 metres, a meeting record 1:44.38 for the South African, ahead of a good run from Simmons and Yago in third. Asbel Kiprop, I said he was out of sorts, outside 1:47, the Olympic champion over 1,500 metres, and he's a 1:43 man at best, in 6th place. And there are the Diamond League standings. With all those points accumulated, Rudisha still leading with those 2 wins. Malautzi, though, in 2nd place with the 4 points from today. And Simmons in 3rd place, sharing 3rd place with 2. Well, the next event, we stick with middle distances. It's the women's 1,500 metres. I tell you what, that's not a bad start on the track, is it? 2 meeting records in the first 2 events, the 400 metre hurdles and that 800 metres. If you've just joined us, Karen Clement winning the 400 hurdles, 47.86. Well, we can bring you the best of the women's long jump now, and this event is completed, just to be able to bring you the very best action. And Carolina Kluft, very out of sorts, no jump in the first round and retiring hurt. I had a quick chat with her in Oslo last week, and she said she's still got the enthusiasm to train hard, but things are certainly out of sorts for Kluft, who last year, remember, ripped one of her hamstrings really badly and had a major operation, and she's still not fully fit. This is Funmi Jimo, though, in the 5th round, going out to 6 metres 65. She put together a pretty solid series to back that mark up. She had a couple of 650 efforts, but that's a 665 with a 2.8 wind behind it. The breeze actually, I think, has eased a little bit. They're jumping over on the back straight against the direction of the runners, if you can imagine the runners going up the back straight. Jimo there, 6.65, her best mark of the day. The 6.54 was not too far behind, and third place points for the American. Well, Canada took second place points to Ruki Abdulai, 6 meters 66, only 1 centimeter better than Jimo as it turned out in the end, although this was in the very first round for Abdulai, Ruki Abdulai. She also produced a 6.59 to back that one up. So taking full advantage of the good conditions, she had a 2.1 wind behind that jump, the Canadian, and I have to say that's a new name to me. Interesting talent. And Brianna Glenn, well, she came out on top in the third round, pumping out to a really big one, 6 meters 78 there in round 3 for Glenn. She backed it up with another jump that would have won the competition. Her sixth and final round effort was 6 meters 76. So excellent efforts from the American. She, though, had a 3.2 meters per second wind behind her. Of course, 2 meters per second is the allowable limit, but it doesn't matter when it comes to the actual distances measured and the finishing positions. The wind is irrelevant. So 6.78, good enough for Brianna Glenn. A home win for the American ahead of Abdulai and Jimo. And Kluft, well, a sad day for her. Let's hope the great Swedish heptathlete can get things right. 4-2-1 for Glenn, Abdulai and Jimo in the Diamond League points allocations, and Glenn and Kucherenko now lead.
I know that, Tim, they said at the start of the meet it was 25 degrees centigrade. Well, I think it's either getting a lot hotter. It tends to in New York. I noticed that the other day, that it gets a lot warmer as the day goes on. And I was watching these 1500 meter women on the back straight. They're all sitting in the shade, so trying to keep out of any of the sun. That included the Olympic champion here. Well, was she a surprise champion? I think she probably was, wasn't she, Nancy Langat? And will probably start in the favourite. And what is a very, very good field here, full of American talent. America had 3 women under 4 minutes last year. They're all here. Shalane Flanagan, Olympic bronze medalist over 10 kilometres, coming down in distance here. One of those under 4 minutes last year was Kristen Worth Thomas, you just saw her. And that there is Anna Pearce. Now, you'd probably remember her more as Anna Willard, who had such a great year last year at 800 and 1500, and has grown her hair a little bit. If you might have recognised her, remember, Tim, she used to have that kind of little white streak in her.
She did have a little white streak.
Did, yeah. I noticed the other day she's...
I think she looks better without the white streak myself.
Don't we all? It's the grey ones I'm worried about. Shannon Rowbury, just outside 4 minutes. I said, I mean, Tim and I have talked about it before, and maybe as this race progresses, or maybe the women's 5,000 a little bit later on, about how well the Americans are doing in their endurance events, men's and women's. Jenny Barringer in Eugene last year dipped under 4 minutes. He's only run 4.8 this year. Just picking out some of the names there, but the perhaps big surprise, and to my mind a little bit disappointing to see her in this race, I don't really say that, will be the name you'll see there, Meseret Defar. Tirunesh DeBarber is here running the 5,000 metres, and would have loved to have seen Defar against DeBarber. I'm sure many people would, but Defar is making a rare excursion into the 1,500 metres here. It'll be very interesting to see how she goes. Her best is only 4 minutes and 6 seconds, which I find unbelievable, given how good she is at 3,000, 5,000, etc. That goes back to, what, 4 years ago. So maybe Defar ready to rewrite her own record books here, but she's got, as I said, the Olympic champion to contend with, and Galita Burka of Ethiopia, who I'm not sure that we've seen a close-up of on the start line. That has to go through in pretty good pace as well, so should be looking for something fairly swift here. I think around about 2.7 through 800 metres. It's a fairly large field. Karen Shinkins, you can see in the white, has been given the job of setting them out at a good pace. Whether or not she gets to 800 or not is another matter entirely. Mardria Hyman, the Jamaican who's just behind her, has been asked to help out. Now, already that's a little bit quick for Karen Shinkins. In fact, it's very quick, and they're all well stretched out trying to hang on to this early pace. It looks like Anna Pearce, who's trying to slot in.
Yeah, she's so far ahead, Stephen. She'd be better off easing back a little bit here. I think quick glance over her shoulder just to see what's going on. She can see a big screen at the far end of the stadium that she's running towards. and she should be aware of that gap behind her.
And isn't it interesting? You look at Langat, you look at Defar, you look at Burka, they've all just hung back. Burka just pushing on a little bit, has realised there is a bit of a gap there, but they've at least run a sensible first 300. They'll gradually get back to these pacemakers, but have done it comfortably, easily. Pearce is moving up as well. We've just gone past Barringer, who's just fading a little bit. Let's see that, 63.41. Well, it's not miles off what they were asked to do, to be fair, just that the field probably didn't fancy this pace. It is a very fast pace that they've been asked for, and that now that lead is being maintained. You can see there the pace is quick, where Thomas has gone with it. Already looks as though she's suffering a little bit, and I've got a funny feeling she's not going to finish anywhere near the front.
She was never one of the most fluent runners, was she, Thomas? She was a real pusher-puller with the arms. She looks very awkward. You can see her punching away there and losing ground now on those pacemakers. And she's going to end up really isolated here with Burka back in 4th place, leading the pack. Burka's got a really strange running style, very forward-leaning in the torso. But I'm not sure she'd necessarily like to be acting as pacemaker for the rest of the pack.
No, she's got the Olympic champion Langat just sitting right behind her. I think this is where we need to concentrate on there. They've got to be careful though, they can't go too slow. I mean, obviously Worth Thomas is a very good runner. She's not in great shape so far this year, but maybe she knows more than we know and is going to find herself with a good lead here when Hyman steps off the track. Not sure when that's going to be, but it'll probably be fairly soon. And that's what, a good 15-metre or more lead. And I think that Langat and the others are getting a bit itchy here. They're wanting to go past Burka. Accepting she's in the front, but she's not doing anything there. And if anything, that lead is getting a little bit longer. Worth Thomas pushing on there. She's got 600 metres to go. And there's the pack, who are starting to bunch now, and they're going a little bit too slow.
Well, they are, and I mean, this is a bizarre situation and a fascinating one. Worth Thomas with what, 20, 25 metres ahead of Burka. She's about 3 seconds up at the moment. Now, the chances are she'll get swallowed up in this next 500, but the crowd will love this sort of situation, Steve. They're really getting behind her here in this packed home straight stand. She's got 450 metres to run. She's still pumping away in that rather awkward, ungainly style of hers, but that's a fully 25, maybe 30 metres at the bell.
And now Defar deciding to get on with it. Langat going with it. Barringer's moving through on the outside to try and get past Burka as well, who herself now responds and tries to go with Defar. And of course we know how quick Defar is. They're reeling her in quickly here. The crowd sensing that the rabbit out in front is going to be run down here. Now Burka's having another go alongside Defar. Langat is still there. Barringer trying to stay with them. Worth Thomas fighting hard, but here they come. They're going to just roll past her, and indeed they do. And look at this, Nancy Langat stretching out. She's only got Defar for company now as they enter the home straight, the two of them just a metre or so apart. The Olympic champion trying to hold off one of the fastest finishers in distance running women have ever seen. Meseret Defar is far on the outside. Can she do it over 1500? She's not going to get there, I don't think. It's going to be Langat who's going to win this. Langat just stretches away over the last 20 metres. Good performance from her. It's just outside 4 minutes. It'll be a personal best for Defar. Burka hangs on for 3rd place. What a strange race there, Tim. I'm not sure what their last lap was, but I bet it was pretty quick. And particularly the last 200 metres or so. The Olympic champion not giving way to Defar, who'd come down to her distance. She wanted to make sure that she held her off, but it was a real battle there. They had to go around either side. I was going to
say Defar squeezing through on the inside there, but Thomas got a bit of a bulk there. But Defar, well, to think that she could outkick the Olympic champion at 1500 metres was maybe a little bit optimistic as they came into this last 150. Langat, though, who said that she had stomach problems through last year, that was the reason for her poor form in 2009, clearly out of the woods, and that's the fastest time in the world this year, confirmed at 4:01.60 and another meeting record.
Pressure's on, Tim. Your race is next.
I know. Can they do it for me in the women's 200 metres? That might be a taller order.
Well, then that's a well lead as well. And the conditions are fantastic here, it has to be said. And obviously we're getting into the business part of the season. Athletes beginning to get themselves into shape for various national championships. Some, of course, will be trials for the likes of the Europeans and, of course, Commonwealths later on in the year, where I'm sure we're going to see Nancy Langat.
Well, sorry, Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tim, you know how athletes start to dominate an event, and she's good enough to do that, isn't she? And she's winning races, not only obviously the championships where she's doing so well, but then coming into the likes of the Diamond League and holding off, you know, Tafar, which is, it's great to see Tafar. As I said right at the beginning, I would have loved to have seen her in the 5,000 metres today, but there's one thing we can't say about Tafar, she's obviously in good shape.
Well, I'll say she is. We very rarely see a race over 1,500 metres, but that was a personal best from Tafar there in second place, 4:02 exactly for the Ethiopian. So while she might not have managed that out-sprinting of the Olympic champion, she did go quicker than she's ever run in her life. Not bad at all. Well, we mentioned various field events going on, and the high jump is one of them.
Samsononi has been having a fairly good competition so far. The bar's now at 2:30, and season's best was 2:27 before coming here today. His personal best is 2:30. They're in a busy part of the track down there. World leader Dusty Jonas going out at 2:24. It's a bit of a surprise. He's cleared 2:33 this year, leads the world rankings now. Oh, now that's not good news for Samsononi. Now, as I said, for the European athletes, a big season ahead, and certainly for Samsononi, that looks as though that's an end to his competition here. Let's hope it's not too serious. That may well have been a bit of a muscle pull.
Well, do you know what, Steve? It's so hot, Newman. I wonder whether or not it's not cramp for Samsononi there. It could be just a little bit of dehydration. Very, very sticky. It's one of those days where just sitting down, you feel a little bit of dampness developing all over your body because of the humidity and the heat. And the wind, funnily enough, has dropped almost completely.
He looks as though he's trying to stretch it out there, doesn't he? Well, let's hope so, because obviously, well, there's European Cup event in Europe next week, and the trials are the weekend after that, certainly for the British athletes, so let's hope it's nothing more than cramp. This is Jesse Williams. And I was talking about obviously the way the season's panning out. Well, Williams, as far as the Diamond League's concerned, a good second place for him in Shanghai, made the trip well worthwhile, picked up the points. And because there's not so many points available, you keep getting yourself in the top 2 or 3, then you're going to be in for a pretty good payday at the end of the season. So Jesse Williams again here, right in amongst it. Just 3 jumpers left at 2:30. Well, this is what what? That was his clearance.
I think he liked it.
Wonderful from Jesse Williams. Now, that's a season's best for him, and I said he's having such a good year that much for him progressing. There's more to come from him today, perhaps. And this is the man that he beat in Shanghai into 3rd place, Thornblad from Sweden. Very, very busy down in the high jump area. Got athletes warming up for the javelin. As Tim was saying, they've been out there quite a while in this heat as well. Thornblad has had 2 failures so far, one at 2:24, one at 2:27, and one so far. Oh, and he goes over. That's 2 men clear then. Well, he's not going to give this up lightly, is he? And on comeback, he'll be ahead of Williams. So he stays in 1st place, Thornblad, with that clearance at 2:30. And that's going to give his, final result there. As I said, he will get the 4 points, and that will put him in a very, very good position as far as the diamond race and the high jump is concerned. Tom Parsons cleared 2:24. As I said there, Dusty Jonas, #1 in the world this year in terms of clearances, 2:33, nowhere near that today.
Well, the standards nonetheless are pretty high. 2:30 is none too bad in the high jump. Next event on the track is the women's 200.
Well, some very good performances there. Langout with that world-leading time. Tafar with a new personal best, knocking 4 seconds. I mean, it was due for revision. Burka running 4:3 as well. Some pretty good times further down. 1 or 2 other not so good performances. A bit of a weird race, to be fair. As I said, I'm not sure, did you put a stopwatch on? I didn't, Tim, but Langat there with the 2 wins has maximum points there, 8 points. Burka on 3 and then Defar currently in 3rd place, but of course we'll expect to see Defar over the longer distances through most of this Diamond League season.
Well, I'll tell you what, the strength and depth in that 1500 was fantastic. Pliss of Poland was 10th in 4:06. That's how good it was going down. Imagine coming 13th in 4:07. That's what happened to Canada's Edmondson Stellingwerf. The women's 200 metres, the next event on the track, and there is Alison Felix. She goes in lane 5, 6 world titles. She's won 2 Olympic silver medals, and just inside her there in the white strip is Veronica Campbell-Brown, the world number 1 this year from Jamaica. There's the full lineup for this women's 200 metres. Freeman in 2, Bianca Knight in 3. Campbell-Brown goes in lane 4, the double Olympic champion. Alison Felix in 5. Kellyanne Baptiste in 6. Shalonda Solomon in 7. And Sharonda Williams in lane 8. Well, Emily Freeman from Wakefield Harriers going in lane 2. Hasn't raced since the middle of May. She's up against a tough field here. She's got Bianca Knight in 3, a former world youth champion. Campbell-Brown, one of the quickest athletes in history, and the world indoor champion this winter, over 60 metres in lane 4 from Jamaica. Alison Felix goes in lane 5. She's won the last 3 world titles at this distance. Felix in 5, Baptiste in 6, Solomon 7, Williams in lane 8. Well, they get away first time. Campbell-Brown already up on Felix. You'd expect that. Campbell-Brown much quicker over 60 metres, but Felix holding her form well, and so is Baptiste. Baptiste had a good run, but look at Campbell-Brown. The Jamaicans in the crowd, and what a big contingent there is. Loving this one. Felix has got a lot of work to do, but she's not going to get there, I don't think. Or is she? Better form at 400, but not as good at 200 today. 21.98, the fastest time in the world this year. My word, is that quick. Sub 22 seconds, and that's a rarity, I can assure you. Campbell-Brown is smashing her own world-leading time of 22.3 from Lawrence in the USA back in middle of April. But Alison Felix, well, Steve, you said earlier that she regarded this as an away fixture, and that for Campbell-Brown, for Jamaica, this was almost a home fixture. And that is Campbell-Brown on the ground. Maybe is that a bit of cramp in the hamstring for her, even though she crashes across the line there in first place. The time is indeed a meeting record. The ball's back in your court, Steve. 21.98. Very, very special sprinting indeed, and what a great race too. I think another 5 or 7 metres and Felix might have got there, but Campbell-Brown really hit it hard on the bend, came off the bend with what, a couple of metres to the good, and worked hard through that 3rd quarter too. And I thought Felix took a long time to really get going. She looked like a 400 metre runner, struggling to find 200 metre form in that one.
Yeah, and I think that was accentuated by the transition into the home straight from Campbell-Brown was superb. She ran a good bend here, and I don't think Felix has run too bad a bend, but then look at the pace that the two of them, compare the two of them here. She's floating past, it's not floating, she's full of power, isn't she? But just look how she converts that half a metre into 2 or 3 metres in the space of about 15-20 metres, and that then meant that Felix was then trying to fight back and come back. Yes, we know that she has the strength, the 400 metre strength, a little bit of endurance, and Campbell-Brown just starting to tie up at the end. And as you said, maybe a little bit of cramp as well for Campbell-Brown in that hamstring. Let's hope she hasn't hurt herself. But superb race. Everybody on their feet in this stand. They were most of them supporting Campbell-Brown. And as Tim said, it's a rarity to see sub 22 second clocking, the two of them running superbly well. What a great race. And that's what the Diamond League's meant to be about. It's meant to be about head-to-heads, the big names racing flat out against each other. There you go, Tim, well done.
21.98, then the fastest time in the world this year for Campbell-Brown, ahead of Felix. Bianca Knight some way back in 3rd place, 22.59. That earns a 1 point. Campbell-Brown getting 4 points, Felix 2 for that one, and the overall standings for the event. Then it puts Campbell-Brown on top, along with Carmelita Jeter after 5 meetings. Well, the wind was plus 1.4 behind them, by the way, in that 200 metres, so very, very good conditions indeed for sprinting, or indeed long jumping, with the following wind helping the jumpers earlier on in that women's long jump. Might not be a big help to the pole vaulters. You can see that bed there to the left of picture with the wind coming at them from their right. In effect, the wind is blowing from this camera position down the home straight. But 4 races on the track so far, and 4 meeting records, can you believe?
We're talking about head-to-heads. Tim, there's a great triple jump competition, perhaps one of the real highlights. We've got Christian Olsen, there he is, a little glimpse of him. We've got Philip Sidowu, the world champion from Great Britain. And we've got Teddy Tamgo, the man who broke Christian Olsen's world indoor record in Doha at the World Indoor Championships. So the three of them, the three big names of world triple jumping, if you like, are here in New York. And Christian Olsen trying to get a little bit of support from the crowd. Down on the back straight. A man who we thought was not going to return to the sport, had so many injuries, of course, and has come back, particularly over the last 18 months or so, very well indeed, and is really starting to threaten Philip Sidowu and the others. It's good to see him here, and he's still a very big name, of course. What, 5 or 6 years ago, when Sweden seemed to be dominating, didn't they, the whole of the world of track and field, with so many athletes, the likes of Kluft, obviously, and Olsen, and Kaiser Bergqvist, the Kaluas. Susanna Kalua's actually hit in the 100-meter hurdles a little later. It's good to see Olsen injury-free and performing well.
Yes, it is, and I think he's still got some injury problems. Not yet back to his absolute best. Here's a special athlete, Teddy Tamgo, world indoor champion, of course, in Doha back in March, with the final effort of the championships. I think it was the penultimate jump of the competition, actually, but it was the last event of the whole 3 days. He broke the world record indoors, and he's already in very good form indeed, is the Frenchman. What can he do here? Oh, no. No. Got the timing all wrong there. There was no rhythm to it. Land standing up there, and that's a 17:63 personal best recently, which tops the world rankings. That was just on the 23rd of May, and Frankenville is some way beyond where he came down in the sand just then. Tamgo, 16:47. He'll be looking to add a metre and more to that. But you're right, Steve. You know, we've been talking about how the Diamond League should be all about head-to-heads and clashes. Great 200 metres just now. That ranks right up there, along with that 800 in Oslo, Rudisha against Kaki, and this one's special too.
Yes, and our first look at Philip Sidowu. He's seen Olsen go out to 17:05, leading the competition, but I think Phillips likes to go big in the first round, likes to start well. Big year ahead, Europeans, of course. We'll see the three of them perhaps contending that title in Barcelona in August, late July, early August. So Philip Sidowu looking a little bit ponderous on the run up there, but they're finishing it off reasonably well. No boards on there to give us a little bit of an indication as to the distance, but it looks round about what Olsen jumped, I'd say, just from the naked eye. Difficult to tell. And it is a long year. When you've got Commonwealth Games in October, you need to plan the season well. I'm not sure yet if he's announced whether he's going to go to Delhi. Of course, many of the top British athletes, anyway, with having a European Championships and then having to go to another championship. 16:67, it's a little shy of Olsen. So 16:67 will put him in third place in this first round. Javelin.
It is indeed, there's a familiar figure, and what form he's in. Andreas Thorkildsen of Norway, the double Olympic champion. And Thorkildsen already over 90 metres this year, and in superb form. Has he hit this one well? It's not bad at all. That looks about 87 metres from Thorkildsen. He tops the world rankings with that 90 metres 37 in Norway back on the 29th of May. He won in Shanghai, he won in Oslo, he's the Diamond League leader, and he's up here against Pidkamaki, who's a 91 metre thrower himself, the Finn, of course. 87.02, another meeting record. It's happening in the field as well.
I was interested listening to Thorkildsen and Pidkamaki, who were being grilled by the American journalists the other day about the fact that in America now, in 45 states in the US, the javelin is banned in high school. So until you go to college in 45 states in America, you can't even pick up a javelin, well, not at school anyway, which is obviously where most people have their first taste of athletics.
Well, this is Corey White. Opened with a 60 metres 81. That one a little bit better, look. About 65.5 metres. So that'll elevate him one place, I think, ahead of his compatriot Bobby Smith. This is very much the bottom end of the 8 starters. He was in 8th, moves himself up, as I said, to a 7th with that 66.01.
Just coming back to that point, though, Tim, it's a very dangerous precedent, isn't it? Because as we move across into the back with the triple jump, but it's a dangerous precedent in the sense it's Sammy Lane here. Lots of events are inherently dangerous, you know, pole vault or throwing the discus or even the shot. Whenever you're throwing anything, may well be a red flag, I think. Is it a white? No, he's going to get a white.
No, well, you're right, and I guess the javelin stands out because it's a very effective weapon as well as an implement in the sport of track and field athletics, and a pointed spear flying through the air is possibly a little bit more lethal. It's what it represents, I suppose, as much as anything. Because you're right, in fact, of course, the discus, as we see Sammy Lane's 1660 there, second round effort, that puts him up into 4th place. It's what it represents, I suppose, as much, because you're dead right, Steve. A discus can be just as lethal. If you get hit by a flying discus, it can do just as much damage as a javelin. Smith then, Bobby Smith of the USA. We're in the 3rd round now. He's down in 8th place, and he will stay in 8th place with that effort. 63.55 in the 2nd round for him. He had a no-throw in the 1st round, so that one is an improvement of a metre or so. In fact, 65.02. Those superimposed lines across the sector are a little bit unreliable. Looking to be under 65 metres, that one. 65.02. Gradually adding on a little bit more. He's got 3 rounds to go, although I can tell it in the throws and jumps, as we see the shot now. After 3 rounds, only the top 6 continue to compete.
Well, the unmistakable figure of Valerie Villi, who should have no problems, I wouldn't think, in this shot put. And it's great to see her here. She's in very good form already this year. It's competitions in the 5th round. She's currently leading with 1993. We'll wait to see if that's any improvement. With 3,000 steeplechase on the track, I can tell you actually that Villi's throw there was 1988 just come up, so no improvement for her, but she is leading with 1993. I know she was expecting to throw a bit better than that here. So 3,000 steeplechase. And as usual, it will be the Kenyan contingent we'll be looking to in terms of, I would think, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, but America have had some really good performances again in this event in recent years. I can see Famigletti there, Anthony Famigletti, just settling in behind the big names ahead of him. They include the Olympic champion Rimin Kipruto. He's tucked in 4th place at the minute, just behind I guess his big rival Paul Koech, and Koech has been in great form so far this year. We've been asked for a pretty good pace. Patrick Langat is lying in 2nd place at the minute, effectively. The pacemaking duties have been given to Haron Lagat. So they're already well stretched out, and then some of the pretty good American steeplechasers, as I said, Daniel Huling last year in Brussels ran 8:14. He recently ran a personal best over 5 kilometres, 5,000 metres back in March. I can't remember, say 5 kilometres there, Tim.
I think you did. You got kilometres on the mind.
Well, I was half having it on the mind because Famigletti, actually, I was going to go on to say, has been running on the roads very well this year. He ran a 63-minute sort of half marathon. So, you know, the idea that you've got to be strong to run this event, but to be honest, it's such a fast event and a wheel track event. So even that sort of strength you bring from road and cross country doesn't really give you too much of a chance to mix it with the best of the Kenyans when they're running fast. And they've been asked for a fast pace here, something not too far away from 8 minutes, and Lagat was just checking to see whether his 3 compatriots are with him, and they are. That's Patrick Langat behind him, then Koech, and then the Olympic champion Kipruto. He's only run 8:18 this year so far, Kipruto. Koech much quicker at 8:6.
I think the pace is a little optimistic myself. They get close to 8 minutes, I'll be surprised today. 2:38, of course, is just about world record tempo, which is what's been requested for this 1st kilometre. Let's wait and see. Doing a pretty good job at the moment is Haron Lagat. These 4 well away, as you can see, and the rest of the field what, about 20 metres back now. The wind has been swirling a little bit, I should say gusting. You can see those flags there on that top end of the field blowing towards the track. And that's where the wind's coming from, but at other times they're just hanging limply and it appears just about perfect.
Remember Patrick Langat was in Shanghai, Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't Patrick Langat was meant to be kind of helping out with the pace, and he kept going so well. He got involved, he ran a big personal best and he ran 8 minutes 9, which was a bit of a surprise to everybody, probably himself included. And he's really trying to encourage Langat in front of him, who's moved out. He's kind of already thinking, I've had enough now, can you please take over? In fact, there he goes, he's just going to step over. So that leaves Patrick Langat in front. And this is what happened in Shanghai. He had Koech and Kemboy, who'd let him go a little bit, and then they really came back at him and took about 2-3 seconds out of him on the last lap. He still was rewarded with a big personal best, running under take 10. So they're going to be a little bit more wary of him now. He's meant to be keeping the pace going today, that is his job, but they'll know that they really should go with him, because if he does, they do just sort of sit back and look at each other, Koech and Kipruto, then Langat's capable of staying out there in front. So they are going with him. Pace is slowing already, but as you said, it was fairly ambitious. And then we've got a secondary race, if you like, which Famigletti is leading. Hooling, as I mentioned, and Steve Slattery, the 3 Americans who themselves have got about a 15-20 metre lead over some of their compatriots. So it's 3 Kenyans in the front.
And I'll tell you what, first kilometre 2:39, just inside 2:40, pretty solid running, but it is a hot, sticky afternoon, bit of a breeze in their faces up that back straight. It's not ideal for distance running, I suppose you could say. Not far from it, but not ideal.
Looks very comfortable, doesn't he, Langat? And Kipruto, as we suspected, he hasn't been running great so far this year, and former world champion, reigning Olympic champion. And they've got so much depth, so much talent, so much ability at this event, and he's struggling, I would think, on the sort of form he's showing at the minute, even to get in the Kenyan team for later in the year. But Koech, by stark contrast, has been running very, very well indeed. He was only just out-kicked by Kemboy in that race in Shanghai by a couple of tenths, and there's not many people out-kick Koech. Kemboy, of course, one of the best, one of the fastest men. He's a great steeplechaser, but on the flat as well, is very, very swift. But Koech normally can out-kick most people in the steeplechase. Well, it looks as though if Langat does keep going, which there's a big if around that, and he's got a chance of hanging on to second place, because Kipruto is going distant very, very quickly.
Christian Olsen then, what can he do here? That looks better. That looks pretty solid from Olsen. Very hard for us to tell, I have to say, without those boards beside the pit. Was that 1650 or 1750? It makes you feel a bit daft, really. We get so used to them, we're spoilt, I think. But that from Olsen was backing up his opener, which was 17:05. He was the only man beyond 17 metres, and it's 17:21 for Olsen in the second round. He extends his lead over Randy Lewis, who's in second with 16:76. That opener, remember, from Udowu was 16:67, pretty modest.
Well, you can see that Koech must be feeling very good indeed, because the pace has still been pretty good, and he's decided to push on. He could feel that Langat was starting to fade a little. 2 laps to go. Koech has got it all to himself here, and with every chance of a quick time. He went through, of course you have to bear in mind with the barrier, the water jump, sorry, is on the inside of the track here, so they're running less than 400 metres each time. So you had, with less than 800 to go, if you could run sort of 61, 62s, as we see Teddy Tamgo in the triple jump.
Yes, Tamgo. Well, the gauntlet's been thrown down now. Still a very, very untidy jump. Gets the red flag. I thought he looked a little bit long. Well, he's smiling, he's laughing. He might well be Tamgo, but he's down in 6th place. And in theory, if he doesn't improve things, and Rulak of the USA goes a bit better than him, he could fail to make the cut and be out after 3 rounds. No jump for Tamgo there, even though it looked like a big one.
Kipruto looking very tired, is coming under threat from Hooling, who's running very, very strong. He's got a good chance of perhaps catching the Kenyan. What a scalp that would be, but it's all about Koech at the front. Now he's just let that one slip a little bit. If he could pick up this last lap, he's still going to be heading for a very, very quick time indeed. 8 minutes is starting to slip away somewhat. Langat is hanging on well for second place, but as I said, Kipruto struggling to hold on to third, but Koech has picked it up again here. Fastest time in the world this year was the time set in Shanghai, 8.6. I think that's certainly within his compass here. He's striding away down the back straight. He's got nobody to push him on. It's all about him and the clock. It's been a dominant run here from Paul Koech. He's having a good season, as I said. Just starting to look a little tired through this last 200. There's a good race going on for third place, and the crowd's starting to warm to that. I'm not sure that Huling is going to catch Kipruto, but as we see Langat take the final water jump, it's all about Paul Koech now, who looks as though he's a little tired coming into the home straight. The clock is ticking away pretty fast now. It's not been such a good last lap from him, but nonetheless it's a good victory. He's going to see that 8.6 clocking slip away as well. But it's a dominant win for Paul Koech of Kenya. Langat, pacemaking duties done well again, hangs on for second place. Kipruto not looking like the Olympic champion, like the great steeplechaser we know he is. He's in third, and Huling, despite trying to chase him down, didn't quite get there, but he finishes the first of the Americans.
Well, the first track event without a meeting record there, and that's hardly surprising. The meeting record is 8.01, and it's not a world best either, but 8.10 and winning by that distance is not bad going at all from Paul Koech. He does, of course, hold the second fastest time in the world this year at 8.06, and he looks pretty tired after that one. So often we see the Kenyans cross the line and carry on jogging round the bend and taking the plaudits from the crowd, but he looks like he's working for that one, sweating up profusely there, and hardly surprising.
Yes, it wasn't I mean, obviously he was running away from the rest, but they were fading quite badly, and he didn't finish as strong as he might have done. Maybe if there'd been somebody with him, but as you said, Tim, it looked as though there wasn't too much left in the tank there. It is warm, very warm, quite sort of humid and sticky as well.
No, it's very sticky. I mean, some of us went for a run this morning, Steve, in Central Park, and I did 45 minutes this morning. I can't remember. Didn't see you, actually.
Would you like a medal?
But it was,
the women's 10K
very,
was on.
very humid. Well, it was very humid, and I was drenched, and it's much worse now, as you say, the hottest part of the afternoon, frankly. What is it, local time, 5:30?
Philip Sidowu trying to respond to Christian Olsen. That's not bad, though. That's not going to be too far away. I think it's improvement, certainly, for Philip Sidowu. Whether it's going to get close to the lead held by Olsen. I think Olsen thought that when he saw his distance of 17:22 go up, he was kind of saying he didn't quite finish it off well. And actually that jump happened just a few minutes ago, so I can tell you, as it's come up on the computer, it's 17:22, which is the lead by 1 centimetre from Olsen. And I was just about saying a minute or two ago that Olsen, I think he was, as he walked back afterwards, he just kind of knew, I think, that there was another 10-15 centimetres in that jump, and I think this competition just getting warmed up. The two of them, of course, know each other well, great rivals. Phillips has just taken a narrow lead in the second round.
Well, there was clearly more there, wasn't there? I mean, Phillips landed standing up. He does this so often, actually. A lot of his big jumps, he finishes standing up in the sand, and that's not really the way you need to be if you get that leg shoot right. So I think there's a lot more to come from Phillips, and Teddy Tamgo, of course, is the prowling around in the background, languishing down in 6th place with 16.47. He's jumped further than a metre further than that so far this year. Next event on the track is the women's 100-metre hurdles. That's due off well, in a couple of minutes' time. The barrier's still being put out on the track. I think we're going to be I think a few minutes late through this second half of the meeting. There is Lolo Jones, the world indoor champion, twice world indoor champion in fact, who's been in pretty good form. Winner in Oslo 8 days ago in 12.66, but a few days prior to that she had a bit of a nightmare in Ostrava in the pouring rain in the Czech Republic. So just lacking that little bit of consistency, and she does have a habit, Lolo, of being so quick to the first barrier and between those first 3 or 4 sets of hurdles that quite often she clips one, and if she doesn't go down, she certainly loses her rhythm and produces a poor performance. I think in Ostrava she was down in 4th place, but it's a loaded field, that 100 hurdles, I can tell you.
Now, we were saying how much we were looking forward to the men's javelin, and Torkelson and Pit Kamaki. We were talking about them obviously coming here as the two big names and that, but Pit Kamark is not having a good day at the office. And we're just looking down, we're just getting some information actually that despite the fact that Torkelson got off to a good start, we think he's got a bit of a groin problem and has taken no further part in the competition. This is, I'm wondering why we might not have seen him. And that's not good news for him either. So Torkelson, if that information is true, then he will take no further part here today. And of course, the European Cup is in Norway next week in Bergen.
I'll tell you what's strange, Steve, as we see Chris Hill there take his sixth and final round throw, it's actually no throw, is that Peter Friedrich of the Czech Republic has also retired. He took 3 throws, 85.04 in the third round was his best, and he retired, didn't take part in the last 3 throws. Torkelson had just 2 throws. Now Sands in this triple jump. Randy Lewis in third place, Sands in fourth behind him, looking for about 8 centimetres to move into the top 3 and get Diamond League points, but no, doesn't look too happy with it, does he? Really tight at the top. Remember, Dovu 17.22, Olsen 17.21. They're way ahead of the rest. Well, Sands there moves into third place, 16 metres 80, and it equals his season's best at 2 metres following wind. He managed to snatch there. So Olsen, what can he do to respond to that second round lead grab from Philip Sidowu? This is his third round effort. Plenty of time yet. But regard each jump as your only jump. Otherwise, don't take it. What's the point? Great to have him back. He's had a couple of very tough years as Olsen with foot injuries, which they really couldn't get to the bottom of. He's had enormous problems trying to find exactly what was causing the injury to the side of his foot. But he is back and jumping well. That looks good. That looks strong. Gets a white flag. He's a lovely rangy jumper. He's not really a power jumper. It does depend upon speed, but oh no, he doesn't get the white flag. I thought I saw the white flag going up.
So did I, Tim.
Well, the official
see that again, but let's have a look at the result of the 3000 steeplechase. 8:10.43, the winning time for Koech and Langat. As I said, hanging on for his second place. Poor run from Kipruto. You and I seeing things over there?
We are. It's the heat. I think it's the dehydration.
It was, I think, like Tamgo as well. His no jump was pretty long as well. Diamond race in the steeplechase now being led by Koech. Ken Boy with the just the one race, one win, so he has 4 points. Just to keep reiterating that, 4, 2 and 1. Only points awarded for the top 3 places. And Lolo Jones, as Tim was saying, hoping for a good performance in what looks like a very competitive field again in this 100-metre hurdles.
Does indeed. Lolo Jones will be in lane 5 in the very centre lane of the 9 lanes being used. Priscilla Lopez-Schleep, the 27-year-old Canadian, goes in the lane beside her in lane 4. She, of course, the World Championship silver medalist last summer, the bronze medalist in the Olympic Games. She's very, very consistent, the Canadian. And in fine fettle with a big win on Ostrava a couple of weeks ago. 12.69 there, that is her season's best. Lolo's season's best, 12.66, so very, very close on paper. But I said it's a loaded field, and believe me it is. Delarine Ennis is in there, Perdita Felicien, Ginny Crawford. Tiffany Ofili, the 22-year-old American, goes in lane 1. World Junior Championship bronze medalist a few years back, but 4th in Daegu recently, so she's in pretty good form. 12.85 her season's best, she's in 1. Sally Pearson of Australia, she's a 12.50 athlete. Here's a Pearson in lane 2. And looking for a solid run here. No form yet this year over the 100 hurdles. Delarine Ennis goes in lane 3. The World Championship bronze medalist last year. Very experienced at 35. In lane 4, there is the Canadian Lopez-Schleep. Bronze medalist in the world indoors. She wintered well. Lolo Jones in 5. Winner in Doha, winner in Oslo 8 days ago in 12.66. That is her season's best. Perdita Felicienne, former world champion. She took the world title back in 2003 on the home ground. Ginny Crawford in lane 7. Third in Doha, a winner in Daegu recently. Her personal best was here. 12.45, her personal best a couple of years ago. Susanna Kalur, great to have the Swede back. The European champion, the reigning European champion, will be looking to defend that title in Barcelona later on in the summer. She was out for all of 2009. No marks at all last year. She hasn't broken 13 seconds yet this year. Talk about jumping in the deep end. She's only run 13.1 this summer. And completing the lineup in lane 9, Vonette Dixon of Jamaica, a 12.84 athlete this season.
On your mark.
So, this almost has the makings of a World Championship final. This field is really strong when you think Delary Ennis in 3, Priscilla Lopez-Schleep in 4, Lolo Jones in 5, Perdita Felicienne in 6, Ginny Crawford in 7. Goodness me. There is that complete lineup. 9 lanes being used for the women's 100-metre hurdles. The athletes climbing into their blocks and under starters' orders. Meeting record is a very, very impressive 12.45 by Michelle Perry. I don't think that's vulnerable. But Lopez-Schleep in 4, Jones in 5, Felicienne in 6. All the way first time, great start from Lolo Jones. Lopez-Schleep alongside her. Jones has got some work to do, holding up bay here, going well. Ginny Crawford on this side. Ginny Crawford, but Lolo Jones in the middle, beginning to ease away. Jones takes it on the near side. Felicienne second, I think, beside her. And Crawford maybe one lane closer to us again, taking third. The time 12.55, 2 metres the following wind. But boy, another big win there for Lolo Jones. She had to work for it. And really, she held on so well because she got away the best of them, grabbed a few inches at the start, and that was the only lead she was able to maintain throughout the race. It's the fastest time in the world this year, 12.55, to take over from the beautifully named Queen Harrison, which was run back in early April.
Yes, Tim, I think she did get a good start. If anything, Ginny Crawford might have been a bit better, and then the two of them were almost stride for stride, if you like, all the way through. Jones just gets away then, and Felicienne with that superb last 2 hurdles almost got to Jones. Very, very competitive, and as we've said this time and time again, you could almost throw a blanket over the best 100-metre hurdle, women's 100-metre hurdle athletes. They are so closely matched. Jones tends to come out on top more often than not always on the times that she wants to, of course, when it really matters, but in front of a home crowd today here in New York, she just about comes away with the victory. 12.55, another world-leading time in these very good conditions. We'll get that confirmation of the wind speed. It came through at exactly 2 metres, which of course is the legal mark.
Well, I tell you what, the strength in depth there was fantastic. Lopez-Schleep 4th in 12.67. Sally Pearson 5th, 12. In fact, they've just adjusted that on the computer, jumping around in front of us, but no doubt in the first 3, Jones, Felicienne, Crawford in 12.55. Very, very competitive race too. It's great to see these athletes coming out and matching each other week in, week out, and battling hard. 3 100ths of a second, that's all there was in it. And I can tell you that most of that margin was represented by Lolo Jones's lightning quick start. She was 177.177, Felicienne 0.194. So a really quick start from Jones was what pretty much gave her the upper hand there from the word go.
Well, she's a very popular athlete, isn't she, Lolo Jones? And
she is. I had a chat with her a couple of weeks ago in an airport lounge, Steve, and I said the US champs this year, they're pretty much in the middle of nowhere, aren't they? It's a weird little town. And she went, yeah, Des Moines, Iowa, my hometown.
Well done.
I know. There it is, confirmation of the win for Lolo Jones, and a world-leading time, 12.55, ahead of Felicienne of Canada and Crawford of the USA. And those Diamond League points, 4-2-1 for Jones, Felicienne and Crawford. And that's the way it is. Lolo Jones, 12 points now to lead the overall standings after 3 meetings for her.
Well, this meeting obviously is about the big names of world athletics, but there's been a few high school races. The great Jim Ryan has been here, and there was a high school mile race earlier on. There's a girls' high school race later on over the mile. The crowd enjoyed listening to Jim Ryan. We're on the field, though. We're going to concentrate on the pole vault and the triple jump for the next few minutes.
Yes, this is Gibilisco, former world champion, lifted the world title in Paris in 2003, did Giuseppe Gibilisco. Season's best of 5:70. He's actually in pretty good form this year, the Italian. But struggling at the moment, having said that, at 5:40. That's the second time failure for Gibilisco. Early days in this competition when you think that Derek Miles and Steve Hooker, the Olympic and world champion, are in there. La Villenie of France too, who's come to the fore this last couple of years in meteoric fashion. They are all clear, La Villenie, Miles, Hooker at 5:40. First time, those three.
Well, pole vault is out at the top end of the stadium, which is, if you probably noticed, is not as well protected. There's a fair bit of crosswind, which might give them one or two issues. We were listening to Steve Hooker, and he's obviously been a little out of sorts, shall we say, in the first couple of Diamond Leagues, and said they've had problems with, well, all sorts of things. But he said the pole that he's using today was theoretically going to make him perform a lot better. The pole which, because they move around a lot, he's using some poles from America that stay in America, and he said he's never vaulted less than 6 meters with the particular poles he's using. So he was setting himself up a little bit. So we shall see. So far, so good for Steve Hooker. He's only had one clear attempt at 5:40.
Michael Balna of the Czech Republic, that is, who's a 5:71 man this summer. Hooker, by the way, having some problems with his poles. They didn't arrive yesterday when he arrived, and last news I heard this morning was his poles still weren't here. But he is out there. Apparently he said he wouldn't compete if his poles didn't arrive, so I guess they must have made it to the stadium in time. Now 6-7 men clear at 5:40. Just Jeremy Scott of the USA has gone out with 3 failures. Next height is 5:60, 20 centimetre jump, and then afterwards it becomes 10 centimetres, then 5 centimetre increments, the way the bar moves up.
Well, this triple jump really is warming up into a great competition, and there have been 1 or 2 changes which I'll bring you up to date with. We're now into the 4th round. This is Randy Lewis. We'll see him go first, and I'll let you know what's been happening, because the last time we were with it was Philip Sadou, who was leading with 17:22. I can tell you first of all that he improved that in the 3rd round to 17:28, which meant he had a 7 centimetre lead over Olsen. Just the top 6 getting a further 3 attempts after the 3rd round, and Sammy Lane was in 6th place, Randy Lewis in 5th, after he's had 2 no jumps in the 2nd and 3rd, but his first round effort was good enough to put him in 5th, so they get 3 more attempts. But Philip Sadou, as I said, 17:28, but then the man of the moment of triple jumping, Teddy Tamgo, has gone out to 17:61 in the 3rd round to take a big lead. And we're going to be seeing the main contenders very, very shortly. 16:60, no improvement for Randy Lewis, stays in 5th.
Well, back to this pole vault. Gibilisco now. 3rd time clearance at 5:40 for Gibilisco. Now 5:60. Oh no. Well, that's disappointing, because Gibilisco on his day, he's a big jumper. He's a 5:90 man. Had a wonderful 2 or 3 year spell back in the early part of this decade, but frankly the last 2 or 3 years he really has come off the boil, although it's good to see that he has cleared 5:70 this summer. That's early season form that he hasn't shown the likes of, but as I say, 2 or 3 seasons.
Lee Van Sands of the Bahamas jumping into, you guessed it, he's not, well, he's almost leading the other competition here, isn't he? He's in 4th place, but the others are very distant from the top 3 big names, Olsen, Idu and Tamgo. Lee Van Sands struggling to get even close up to the 17 metre mark. Has jumped the season's best here so far today, 16.80 in the third round, but no improvement there, 16.72. So just to reiterate, Tamgo in the third round has gone out to just 2 centimetres shy of his world lead. Jumped 3 weeks ago now. He did 17.63 back in France. He's done 17.61 here in New York. Idowu in second place, 17.28. And Olsen now finds himself in third, 17.21. He had a no jump in the third round. But how he must be loving this after all of those problems he's had. He's right in there in contention. Certainly his second round jump looked as though it could be worth more. Oh, it was a little better perhaps from Olsen. Not sure he quite got the extension at the end there and finished it off. Might be a slight improvement, Tim.
I think that looked better. I think that looked pretty good. He's enjoying himself. I bet he's just loving being back after a couple of very, very difficult seasons, which of course included the Olympic Games where he just couldn't feature, and now he's back in the thick of it. It's almost like the second half of a career, isn't it? I wonder if he was able to evaluate his life and come back with just a little bit more enthusiasm but relax at the same time. 17.21 again for Olsen in round 4. That's how hot it is. Get the vest off, get a bit of fresh air over your body. Now next to go, Phillips Idowu, 17.22, 17.28, improving with those second and third rounds, but boy has Tamgo thrown the cat amongst the pigeons. 17.61. Only the Frenchman himself has gone further than that this year with his world leading 17.63. It was ironically that 17.61 into a very marginal headwind, whereas Idowu's best, which holds him in second place, 17.28, was with a reasonable tailwind. No, just didn't have the momentum through that final phase. Didn't look relaxed, Phillips there. Really worked hard through the first two phases, but seemed to lose so much drive and forward speed in that final stage. And again, it's just rather a lackluster third phase, hitting the sand. No, he knows the rhythm's not there yet. 2 rounds to go. 17.31, a slight improvement, but he's, well, 30 centimetres, about a foot shy of Tamgo, and that's a long way yet.
It's nearly there, isn't it, Tim, with Phillips? You know, he relies on his power so much, but if that rhythm isn't there, if the timing isn't there, and it's really just that last phase. He's, as you said, almost standing upright as he lands in the sand. He's not getting that extra 30, 40 centimetres he needs. Now, Teddy Tamgo here, in great form already. Look at the speed of Tamgo. Now, that looks a little better again. He leaps out of the sand. Maybe he knows that could be another improvement on his lead. He leads the world this year with 17.63. First time outdoors we've seen them together. Head to head here with Olsen as well. Oh, close. Very, very close. I think he thought it was further. 17.60, just 1 centimetre short, but a good series being put together by the Frenchman here.
Well, back to this pole vault competition, and La Villenie. Yeah, good vault, 5.60, first man to go clear. Popped over 5.40 first time, as you'd expect from a 6-metre vaulter. 5.60, equally competent to clearance there. And the French are very much in charge of things at the moment. That triple jump competition, Steve, has the makings of the European Championship final, doesn't it, with 3 Europeans? Tamgo, Idowu, Olsen in 1, 2, 3.
Yes, I was mentioning that earlier on, that there's a few very, very sort of tantalising, mouth-watering events coming up, and it's great. You know, there aren't many events in Europe, as we'll see the start list of the men's 100 coming up, which would be a case in point of there are so many track events where European men just do not win on the world stage, don't even win medals at the Olympic Games. Not one medal from a European athlete, but in the field, very, very different indeed. And triple jump, where the Europeans are dominating. Well, they don't dominate in the 100 metres, that's for sure, although I noted the other night that Christophe Lemaitre, the young French sprinter again, and very close to 10 seconds, but we've only had 4 men under 10 seconds so far this year. Of course, no Usain Bolt here, not competing anyway, no Tyson Gay, so the way left open for the likes of Mike Rogers here, amongst others. It's a field which Maurice Green, you can just see interested spectator sitting on his own in the stands there. Ryan Bailey will go in lane 1. Ran the 200 in the Shanghai Diamond League, finished third there. A big sort of jump forward last year. He's run 10.09 this year, close to his best. Randy Martina, the man of course famously disqualified in the Olympic 200 metres. Johan Blake of Jamaica, just 20 years of age. One of their huge crop of very good young talented sprinters. Richard Thompson will go in lane 4 from Trinidad. It was his birthday earlier on this week, just turned 25. And getting into some sort of a good season form. He hasn't been running too well so far this year, Thompson. Now, Daniel Bailey, again, another one who's struggling to really get moving. He's got a good lane here, right in the middle of what, as I said, is a strong field, but it may well be this man, Ivory Williams, who should start as the favourite. As I said, he's one of only 4 men to have run under 10 seconds so far this season. But conditions here, if the wind just stays right around that 2 metre mark as it did for the 100 hurdles, we could be in for something pretty swift here. Mike Rogers, silver medal world indoors. As ever, running with the headband. One of the shorter sprinters, and when he stands next to Usain Bolt, well, he makes Usain look about 7'4". Trell Kimmins ran a personal best in Oslo on Friday night, 10.09. He's in 8th, and we're using 9 lanes in the home straight here. So Travis Paget, who was 3rd in the Doha 100 metres, gets the outside lane. He's only run 10.3 this year. He had such a good year, an Olympic year back in 2008, ran 9.89, and Eugene that year, and it looked as though he was going to be a big new star for the United States. Hasn't quite turned out that way for him. There's the full lineup then: Bailey, Martina, Blake, Thompson, Daniel Bailey, Williams, Rogers, Kimmins and Paget. It's a case of take your pick here. Williams the fastest in the field so far this year in lane 6. Thompson, last one to settle back. You can see the flags fluttering in the background, pretty much on their backs, just a little bit across. So men's 100 metres. They get away first time. Williams indeed got a very good start. Rogers just left a little bit, but starting to come through now. Going well is Trell Kimmins. Trell Kimmins is running well right over on the far side. Johan Blake, it's going to be close. Blake might just get there. Or was it next to him? Thompson. Well, Thompson, I think, who got it just on the nod. 9.89, but 2.4 the following win. It just picked up at the wrong time for the sprinters. Well, they're all looking at the big screen. Eyes were being pulled backwards and forwards there. And in the end, Thompson, strong. I said he hadn't been having such a good year this year. He's holding his hamstring as well. We've had 1 or 2 of them so far today. But doing enough right in the closing stages to win it. Unfortunately for him, as I said, the wind just picking up. Well, good race though.
What a race. Thompson in lane 4, very, very well away. There he is to the middle right of picture in the darker strip, pumping away hard. It was a tough one because right beside him Daniel Bailey wasn't far back, and to his left, to our right, Blake there was also right there. It's come through as a confirmed 9.89, but as Steve rightly pointed out, the wind just over the legal limit. Also going well on this side was Rogers, or Kimmins in fact, in the red there. It's Kimmins in lane 8, but over on the far side, that's where the lead was held from early on. Can confirm a 9.89, 9.91, 9.92 for the first 3. Good place times. What a shame that wind was just beyond what's allowable.
That's a bit of a pity that, because there was a B 100 metres, if you like, earlier on in the meeting, where they, much athletes of lesser ability than those we've just seen, and they ran, was it 10.0, Tim, or 10.01, and we were expecting these guys to go under 10 seconds, and certainly a 9.89 with a 2.4 is probably worth, well, 9.95, something like that, 9.96. So Thompson might feel he's been robbed there, but I think he'd be very, very happy with the win. They're not going to get too many wins in the sprints this year.
Well, he will if everybody stays injured. Right there at the moment, with Bolt and Gay both out injured, and Asifa Powell staying away from this one. And you can't blame him. He's been racing a great deal as Asifa Powell, producing one great performance after another. 9.82 last week, or rather in Rome, just 48 hours ago. Because this meeting, of course, the 5th in the Diamond League series, remember 14 meetings of the series, is literally just 48 hours after the competition in Rome. And a few athletes came across with us yesterday, and I'm not sure too many of them performing that well. Hardly surprising. It's a long old haul. It's meant to be a 9-hour flight. We kept sitting on the tarmac airplane for 2.5 hours, which turns it into, well, about a 15-hour journey when you throw in the bits and pieces at either end. Glorious conditions still here at the Khan Stadium. If you've just joined us, it's been an astonishing series of track performances we've seen over the last hour and a half or so. In one event after another, we've had meeting records. Very special indeed. Not in that one, because the meeting record's held by Usain Bolt, who of course set that world record then, as it was 9.72 a couple of years ago. But boy, I'll run through them later on if you stick with us. But I think we've had about 6 meeting records so far on the track. The pick of them, probably Veronica Campbell-Brown's 200-metre win, 21.98 to just edge out Alison Felix by 4/100ths of a second. The next event on the track, the women's 5,000 metres. Still a very warm day, isn't it, Steve? It's a pretty muggy afternoon, considering there's a bit of a breeze across the arena. It's a surprising combination.
Well, it doesn't have the wind reading on there, but it was 2.4, so these times not legal. But 9.89 will still please Richard Thompson. It was 200ths in the end. Looked even closer than that, didn't it, with Johan Blake and Daniel Bailey just sneaking through to pick up a point, so they get transferred into the totals for the season so far in the Diamond race. For the 100, of course, Powell with the 2 wins he's already had, sitting on top there with 8 points. Thompson now moves into second. Well, sorry, Tim, I was just going to say that you're right about, we'll come back to that, talking about the sprints as we pick up what's happening in the pole vaults.
Yeah, Zemislav Shavinsky. Oh, good vault. Well, the pole there, easing over at the second attempt, 5.60. He's just the second man to go clear. La Villani we saw pop over a few minutes ago, first time. The Frenchman very much in control at the moment. But Derek Miles has failed once at this height, so has Steve Hooker, after a first-time clearance of 5.40. Steve Hooker's form with a bit of a disaster in Oslo last week, where he could only clear 5.40. Is certainly not settled as yet. Maltamur has failed as well.
Well, we're coming to the conclusion of this triple jump, and again, I can bring you up to date as we watch Lee Van Sands. I can tell you, obviously, he's not going to trouble the lead. Although it was starting to look better. I think he knew that he had it through the first 2 phases. Just at the end, they didn't finish it off properly. In that, we saw Philip Sidowu improve to 17.31. Well, after that, in the 5th round, Teddy Tamgo has gone out to, here you go, Tim, another world-leading performance of 17.84 for Tamgo. A superb series that's putting together, and he is already throwing the gauntlet down to Idowu and Olsen, saying, I'm the man to beat this year. And who's going to argue with that sort of performance? 17.84.
Well, I tell you what, that's a pretty intimidating distance. It's way beyond what Philip Idowu has ever jumped. And I'll tell you what, it's a long way beyond what I think Christian Olsen will be capable of this season. The Frenchman is destroying this field with this series once he got into it, because remember his first couple of efforts merited very modest, a 16.47 and a no jump prior to these really big efforts. Here is Olsen, his lifetime best 17.79. Tamgo's gone further than that today. That's not bad either from Olsen. He's in 3rd place at the moment, 17.21, which he's managed twice in the 2nd and 4th rounds. And Philip Idowu, remember, improving 17.31 in the 4th round, so the Briton lies in 2nd. But now he's over half a metre, a massive margin behind the Frenchman Tamgo. It's a national record, a world-leading performance from the Frenchman. hope we might be able to bring you a replay of that 1784 jump. 1762 for Olsen. That is huge too. Idowu has got the chance to respond now. He's next to go. But my word, this cracking triple jump competition developing here, unfolding here. Well, I say developing, it's the final round. As we see Hooker there just popping over 560 at the second attempt. He's gradually getting it together.
Well, how can Philip Idowu respond here? He's lost second place now to Olsen. He's also seen Teddy Tamgo go out to one of the longest jumps of all time. We'll just check on the world list. He's about 10th or 12th, 1784. No. And I think that's affecting him. He was putting together, reasonable competition. He's in the 1730s, but he's got now to understand that if he's going to go to European Championships and do well, Teddy Tamgo is setting a whole new standard. 1784, and Olsen very much back to his best, just about 1762 for him, leaving Philip Idowu in a very disconsolate third place here in New York.
Well, I'll tell you what, Christian Olsen came here, I suspect, with just hopes of going beyond 17 metres and putting out a good performance, but I never thought he'd jump 1762 myself. All credit to him. Maybe he heard me earlier when I said that he won't go close to 1784 this year. Tamgo then, the sixth and final round effort for him. It's the end of the competition, the final jump. He's got the win in the bag. Fabulous middle phase, and that's big as well. Does he get the white flag? Yes, he does. That's massive as well. Now, the world record, of course, Jonathan Edwards, I think, is still a little beyond the Frenchman. 18 metres 29. Kenny Harrison holds the US record, the North American record, at 18.09. The world lead has already gone to the Frenchman today. 1763 it was by him. He's gone out to 1784. 17 metres 98, can you believe? Oh my word, that is the third longest jump in history. Only two men have ever gone clear of 18 metres. Jonathan Edwards, of course, with that world record back in 95, and Kenny Harrison for the Olympic title in 96, the American. Tamgo now the number 3 all time. What a competition. The win behind him on that one, plus 1.2, he improves his national record, and that is the performance of the season in any discipline.
Well, I think those 2 digits he stuck up was 2 centimetres short of the magical 18 metres. Just watch this. He's already done 1784, the final round, and you knew that last jump, look at that. Sailing through the air, the new king of the triple jump, a world record at the Indoor Championships. Philip Idowu goes over to congratulate a man who very much sits on top of the world as far as the triple jump's concerned. There you see a new world leading distance, but more importantly, the third longest triple jump of all time. Christian Olsen, great to see him back, 1762 in second place, and Idowu having to settle for third.
I wonder if the crowd here today realise what an astonishing competition, series of competitions they've been treated to. Derek Miles then, back to this full third attempt at 560 for the American. He's in real trouble. Oh, no, I thought he had that. Crashing into the bar there. The height was there, there's no doubt about it. This women's 5,000 metres is underway. 12 and a half laps of the track, of course, and 14 athletes in the field. Can tell you that the world record holders in this one Tiranesh Dibaba, 24-year-old Ethiopian, the Olympic champion in Beijing at both 5,000 and 10,000 metres, who in Oslo 2 years ago ran 14:11.15. Now we understand that she's unlikely to go for that sort of time or any attack on a really special time today. We hear that she's just hoping to break 14:30 here today. She's in second place in that second group in the orange vest as the pacemakers Munkan of Serbia and Adis of Poland have gone off very early on to develop a lead of about 15 metres. So we see the rest of that field. Jen Rhines, an athlete to watch. She's a strong athlete as Rhines, a sub 15-minute performer, and frankly 15 minutes is probably the benchmark of world-class running over 5,000 metres for the ladies. But it's Muncan who leads. She's due to go to 1 kilometre in 2:52, which of course 8 seconds times 5 is 14:20 pace. However, the second kilometre we're expecting to be around 3 minutes or something closer there. It is still very warm, very sticky. And Dibaba here, well, she has some significant competition in the figure of Ejigu, her compatriot, the same age at 24. She's the fastest in the world this year, Ejigu, with a big win in Shanghai. That was on the 23rd of May. Ejigu running 14 minutes 30. That was a new personal best. So it'll be interesting to see how Dibaba goes here. She's had her own injury problems this last year or so. This, we believe, is Dibaba's first outdoor race of the season. They come round into the straight in front of us now, and they'll see the 1 kilometre split as they come through. But Dibaba leads the pack. Ejigu right behind her. You can hardly see her in that shot. She's just tucked in there behind her compatriot. So they're in second and then third and fourth. 2:55 that first kilometre, 2:55.12. I think that's probably quite sensible pacing for this early part of the race. I suppose Dibaba will have gone through, Stephen, 2:56, 2:57.
Yes, it's interesting that standing on the far side of the 200-metre mark is Mark Wetmore, who's largely responsible for this meet here, but with Tirunesh Dibaba. And I saw Marina Muncan look across and say, "Is this okay? Is this good?" And he kind of said, "No, move on, move on." And they've done that in that last lap. And of course, all that's happened is the two pacemakers have moved away. So after some good early pacing, they were asked to pick it up a little bit because it was perhaps slower than they'd been asked to run. But Dibaba herself, not interested.
And I was going to say, I still don't suppose she's particularly delighted having to lead the pack round like this. She's certainly got a worthy competitor in the form of Ejigu.
I mean, when you sort of casually said, "Oh, she's just looking to run under 14:30 today," and you have to put that into context, don't you? Only 9 other women have ever run under 14:30, apart from herself. And while 14:30 for her, when she's in shape, when she's running well,
that's it.
No,
14:11
it's easy, absolutely. But I said you just have to sort of put it in that sort of context. It looks to me today as though, as you said, we haven't seen too much of Tirunesh Dibaba. I think this is just a case of a victory today. Be very, very happy with that. Of course, she saw a great rival, Meseret Tafar, in the 1500 and ran a very swift 1500, ran a personal best in that event. Dibaba content to just lead the chasing pack. In fact, it was almost not worth having pacemakers, was it? As we move back to the pole vault.
Yeah, Malte Moore. He's been in very good form recently, has Moore. But today, well, second time clearance 5:40, passed at 5:60. And Moore, they're going at 5:70. 4 athletes went clear at 5:60, and Moore himself passing, as I said. But here they come around the bend in front of us now, just to come down this home straight. Adis, the pacemaker, is, well, 20 metres ahead. She's not doing any good to anybody there. She might as well slow down. The lead has changed now. It's Kariquiang, I think, in the lead of that pack of 9 athletes moving through. They go down below us now with 8 laps to run. It's still Dibaba in second place in the pack. Ejigu back in 4th. I think Kiros is also there, another of the Ethiopians. They just have this production line of top athletes through the Ethiopians. I mean, Aheza Kiros, it's a relatively new name to me, and yet she's run 14:56, only 15:19 this year, but they just seem to churn them out year after year. New kids on the block appear, and Dibaba very much ruling the roost on the world scene at the moment, and of course the domestic scene in Ethiopia. But she must be a wonderful inspiration, Steve, to these kids coming through. And I suppose you could argue that the same happened in the UK back in the 80s with yourself and Co and Ovet doing it, and an awful lot of world-class athletes developed behind you guys that had to try and strive to beat you, and therefore became amongst the best in the world. And it's a similar sort of thing in Ethiopia, where behind the Dibabas and Defars, there's another 6, 8, 10 world-class athletes trying to catch their domestic mentors almost.
Yeah, they have an embarrassment of riches, don't they? And of course, in the way in which the Ethiopian Athletics Association kind of, try and keep a fair amount of control, particularly when the athletes are younger. Don't let them sort of travel too much and wait until they're kind of ready to go on the world stage, and obviously take events such as, well, the major championships, cross-country and Olympics, world championships very seriously, and kind of make sure their athletes prepare well for that, which is a little bit in contrast to where the Kenyans is a little bit more sort of haphazard, if you like, which is why they've tended to have, you know, the ongoing medal success over the years, both in the men's and the women's events. But I think to kind of bring it more home, if you like, is well, we'll carry on talking.
Well,
just going through there. If you see what's going on in America, and I think that's exactly what's happening, Tim. There's this kind of internal competition. So we've now had what, five if you include Bernard Lagat, 5 Americans under 30 minutes for 5,000 meters. We were talking about 4 women under 4 minutes for 1,500 last year. Lots of women running under 2 minutes for 800. And I think it's that idea of just now to get, and that wasn't the case, was it? In our time, I say our time.
You go back 6 years, the Americans didn't have any great distance runners.
Absolutely, but it's been about get that sort of strength and depth, and I think it's working here in the States. And I'm a bit surprised that 1 or 2 of the better American women weren't in this 5,000 meters. They might have been thinking DeBarber was going to go off and run a silly fast time, as it were, and they're maybe regretting that now, because it's certainly a lot slower than expected. And DeBarber just happy to sit in the pack for the time being, as we see Shavinsky attempting 5:70.
Well, I'll tell you what, they are struggling over there. I don't know if it's because of the wind. There is still quite a gusting wind coming in from their right as we go back to this 5,000 metres, and it's Davila now who leads the pack. About 20 metres behind Aid is the pacemaker, who drops out as they get over to the far side there. They went through 2,000, by the way, in 6:02, which means that their second kilometre is outside 3:07, so it slowed dramatically. 2:55, 3:07. Now Davila leading, and Zero Davila is an athlete who has only just broken 16 minutes. And I suspect we'll find that this third kilometre is much, much slower. I mean, they were hoping to get to 3K, in about 8:40, something like that. Well, it's going to be almost jogging this third kilometre, and that's why they're bunching so badly up there with 100 metres to go to 3K.
Lavillenie has had a very clean competition so far, as you saw. His first attempt at 5:70. They are a little isolated at that top end, as we were saying earlier on, Tim. They're kind of beyond the main stand, if you like, and no crowd around that top bend to cheer them on. Good clearance from Lavillenie. It's been a good day for the French so far. Very good day indeed.
Well, I wonder if he's been inspired by Tamgo's jumping over on the far side, because he must have known what was going on. But he's a lovely looking, crisp, clean, compact vaulter, isn't he, Lavillenie? No mucking about, just gets on with it. Equals the meeting record there with that 5:70, and boy, there's a few people who could learn a few lessons from the way his attitude, I suppose.
Yes, quietly going about his business. Steve Hooker is always a bit more demonstrable, isn't he? But an equally nice guy, Hooker. He's a very popular man on the circuit, and he's one of the Diamond League ambassadors. And he's been very disappointed in his form so far. A little better so far today. Oh no. And that's it's almost trademark of Hooker, just screwing off to the side there. Now, has he just done himself a little bit of damage and landing a little awkwardly, just feeling the calf there? But it's, again, proving a difficult time for Steve Hooker, who's dominated so much in the pole vault in the last 2-3 years. Not in 2010, anyway.
4 laps to go, just under 4 laps to go, with Dibaba and Ejigo in first and second. Now they're beginning to pick up the pace. There was a group of 10. 2 have dropped away, and we're down to 8 athletes as they go into the back straight with just over 3.5 laps to run. It's Dibaba from Ejigo. Utura is then Sule Etura. That's a new name for me as well, although she's got a little bit of pedigree. World Junior Champion over 5,000 in 2008. She's in there on the inside in the all black, I think it is. Ejigo in a second behind Dibaba. And also there, of course, is Kiros of Ethiopia. They really are dominating this pack, the Ethiopians. They haven't yet really picked it up significantly, but the splits, well, they got to 3 kilometres in 9:19. That means that third kilometre was ridiculous. It was about a 3:17, that third kilometre rather, and that's disappointing. It really has become a little tactical affair, this, and it'll just be a test for Dibaba to show off her wonderful finishing speed over the last, well, you make your guess as to when she will kick away. Has a little glance over her shoulder there, that indicates she's probably been clipped from behind, and she's just going, hey, stop that. It's very, very frustrating if you do lead and somebody behind you misjudges their step and keeps clipping you.
Well, that's right, Tim, but on the other hand, if you go to the front and you slow down and you've got a pack like that, people are going to be pushing you from behind, and you know, if you want to go at the front and stretch it out, then fine. If you want it to stay slow, then you know, let somebody else do it. She's very happy, more than happy for this to be a jog as it is now, and we don't see this too often. There's one or two athletes in there, you were saying, who must be enjoying being in the same sort of company as the likes of Dibaba. There won't be when we get the last lap, I'm pretty sure, but nonetheless enjoying it at the minute. You'd think someone, go on, just have a go and have a kick for home, about 500 out.
Well,
see what happens.
12:25 at 4 kilometres. It is desperately slow. They're averaging about 3:06 per kilometre. Dibaba just covering everything now as she comes round with just over 800 to run, just over 2 laps to go, and she'll be relishing this one. This little test of her sprint ability will clock that final lap from Dibaba. They all know what she can do too, so all credit there to Yoda Begley of the USA, who goes round to the front with 800 to run. She might be working pretty hard in this sort of heat. It's not ideal for distance running, I have to say. It's probably, what, about 25 degrees, 27 degrees, quite sticky. Still that group of 8, you could almost throw a blanket over them. But Dibaba there, just beginning to stretch her stride a little bit to cover this surge from Yoda Begley. Good, all credit to the American, but you sort of feel there's a degree of inevitability about the eventual result, and that would be a dominance by the Africans in the top placings for my money. Dibaba there in pink in second place, Ajigo in third. It's a matter of not if but when Dibaba decides to kick in, Steve.
Well, it is, but you can just see Ajigo asking for a little bit of room there, but she's in a perfect position to strike. And remember, she outkicked Masai and Melkamu in Shanghai, and that's no mean feat at all. I think Dibaba is the best. Certainly if she's in shape, and she's already stretching it out now. She's maybe just a little fearful of Ajigo, who's right on her shoulder. As they come to the bell, Tim's getting the stopwatch out. We'll see what happens now. Dibaba won't do it all in one go. She'll make 2 or 3 attempts to pick up the pace. This is the first one, puts her foot down for the first time, and Ajigo right with her still.
350 metres to run, and it's Dibaba from Ajigo, and look at the effect of that immediate acceleration. 300 to run. Ajigo matching her stride for stride. She hasn't got this one in the bag yet. She does have wonderful speed endurance, does Dibaba. She's pushing off the curve there. Look at that, forcing Ajigo wide. There's tons of room on the inside. Ajigo could almost come through on the inside as they close through with 200 to run. And the gaps have opened dramatically in the space of half a lap here. But Ajigo is still there. Is there a little bit of desperation in Ajigo's stride as they come round the bend with 120 to run? The crowd in the home straight stand around us rise to their feet and roar them home. And now she's got the daylight. She does have that wonderful endurance. She just keeps pounding away. Race after race, she beats the her rivals in submission. She wins by 15 metres and more. The final lap there, about 58 seconds. 15:11 the winning time there. And that is finishing speed that very, very few women in the world can reproduce. It's not a bad finishing lap time for a 1500 metres or an 800 metres, never mind about a 5000, albeit the winning time is almost exactly a minute outside her world record. I think we have to bear that in mind, Steve. It's a bit like the lads running a final lap in 51:52 in a very slow 5000 metres, but nonetheless it is impressive, and the way that the field was stretched out there and these huge gulfs developed between the top 4 or 5 athletes really does underline the quality of this athlete.
Well, it does, and I think, you know, I was watching that, and you said an air of inevitability about it, and she does wind it up, wind it up, wind it up, and that, you know, it doesn't all happen in one burst of acceleration. And I think I'd be trying to make her use a burst of acceleration, and I'm not saying that you'd necessarily outkick her, but time and time again they line up behind her and think that they're going to get her in the home straight, and by the time they get the home straight, they're motoring at full speed. You're already starting to slow down. She's had them running full pelt for the previous sort of 200, 300 metres, and then you have nothing left in the home straight. And somehow, I think I would have got in front of her before we got to the bell and kind of messed her around a little bit and see whether that made any difference. Probably not, but hey, it would have at least stopped her just sailing away as she did in the home straight there. So that pretty much concludes on the track, but we've still got some business to go in the men's pole vault. The bar is at 570, and so far we've only seen one man go clear. That's Livellini.
Well, this is Maltamura of Germany. Third and final attempt at 570. Only one man clear, as Steve said. Hooker's had 2 failures. Szawinski of Poland, 2 failures. Zibilisko, 2 failures. And this man Moore, the first to face his final effort. And he is up against it. He had 1 failure at 540 before going clear. Then he passed at 560. Well within his compass, this height. No, oh dear, all over the place there. And that is, I think, what you call a roar of frustration. Similar sort of noise he makes when he goes clear at a big height, I think, but the pictures tell the story. Terribly disappointing. It's come from Germany. It's a long old haul to clear 540, an athlete of his calibre. And next up will be Zibilisko, the Italian. His third attempt, then Szawinski, then Hooker, and Livellini just sitting down, sipping water, I suspect, and watching this all unfold. He went over, remember, first time.
So third attempt for the Italian. It's been a great meet so far, and we'll certainly recap on the many well-leading performances this year, a few meeting records as well, particularly on the track. Great triple jump, fantastic triple jump. There's also been a competition going on, a multi-event competition, which has included Jess Ennis and Hileas Fountain, a kind of 3-event challenge. It's not part of the Diamond League, of course, but been well enjoyed by the crowd. So third attempt at he's done this a couple of times, hasn't he? He had me going there. Zibilisko just aborting that third attempt. He's still got a little bit of time left on the clock. And be surprised. I mean, he might surprise me, but I watched him sort of clamber over 560, and he took 3 attempts to clear 540 as well. And maybe he's just delaying the inevitable here. Yeah, has he even been timed out? I think he has now, Tim. Yeah, the time's gone. That's him done.
He's not a happy man, is he? Goodness me.
We're waiting for a shoulder shrug to go with it all, but didn't quite get it there. No, well, so that's another man out. So just Livellini clear, of course. Szawinski and Hukas both left with 1 attempt at 570.
Well, Szawinski's season's best is 565, so he's going to need to improve on that with this vault to stay in the contest. He is a 580 vaulter. There's the pole. Maltamura, remember, winner of the Shanghai meeting 3 weeks or so ago. Livellini, winner in Oslo. Looks like he's going to win here again today. Certainly, if the rest of them keep vaulting like that. Szawinski not even close, and another roar of frustration. And they are struggling. It's not a vintage season for the pole vaulters as yet. Those European Championships, what, about 6 weeks away? And just Steve Hooker left now to challenge Livellini's lead. Perfect card for the Frenchman. First time clearances at 540, 560 and 570 so far. Confirmation of that win for Tirunesh Dibaba. 15-11-34. She wins by over a second and a half with Ejigo, her compatriot, and Atura making it a 1-2-3. Very impressive running from the Ethiopians, albeit in a very slow race with just a devastatingly fast last lap. And there are the Diamond League race standings. Ejigo leading with 6 points overall from Dibaba's 4 earned today. Long way to go as yet, of course. 9 more Diamond League meetings to come after today. And Steve Hooker, one athlete, will be looking for a significant improvement in form with the remainder of the season.
Well, one thing you never do is write this man off, but he is out of sorts. Can he get clear here? Now that's Steve Hooker that we know. And we've got a competition on now. Third time clearance, well done. Finally starting to look like a man who, as I said earlier, has been dominating over the last 2 years at least. And Hooker, he said himself, he knows it's there. He's just been struggling to get his form together. Big sigh of relief, I'm sure, because at least 570 is some sense of respectability for him. Of course, it's nowhere near what he's capable of, but certainly as far as this competition, at least he's going to give Villeneuve something to think about.
Well, Tero Pitkämäki was one of the men in that javelin, of course, hoping to beat Thorkildsen. But the Finn today producing his best in the second round. By his standards, fairly modest. 82 metres 57. He didn't put together a great series, only 2 throws over 80 metres in fact, and third place points, or point I should say, for the Finn. Petter Friedrich, well, opened with a solid 84.45. This throw in the third round, 85.04 to give him second place by about 2.5 metres from Pitkämäki. But he retired after that one, didn't throw any further, Friedrich. As we heard, Andreas Thorkildsen, the world leading thrower this year with over 90 metres, opened with an 84.14. This was his second round effort, and it was big. Pretty big anyway. Big enough to win today, 87.02. But in so doing, and we think it was during that throw, yeah, a little hop there. He's tweaked his groin. We hope it's not serious, because the groin, your adductors on the inside of your thigh, can be a very, very awkward area to recover from it. Adductor injuries tend to hang around for a few weeks. Thorkildsen retiring after that throw. It was a new meeting record and first place, 87.02, to give him 4 Diamond League points. Confirmation of that win, a meeting record from Friedrich and Pitkämäki by Thorkildsen. First 4 over 80 metres. And of course the allocation of Diamond League points means 4 for Thorkildsen, means he's accumulated 8 so far in that overall standings picture. Friedrich on 4 at the moment. Well, Steve, it's a tough old day in which to pick out highlights, isn't it? I mean, that pole vault is still going, Hooker back in the thick of it, but
I've got to go with Tamgo. I mean, I think in terms of your actual sort of all-time event, that was phenomenal, and he's getting better, and you can... Don't panic, everybody. It was just a starter's pistol going off accidentally. Made 1 or 2 jump. We've still got this pole vault going on, but who knows, these two might give us something to talk about. But I think Tamgo will be getting all of the headlines. On the track, I think you're probably right. Veronica Campbell-Brown's performance over 200 metres, great race with Alison Felix. So, I mean, again, the Diamond League kind of producing in those events two big names in the women's 200, the 3 big names of world triple jumping coming together and producing great performances. That's what it's meant to be about. Steve Hooker trying to do his best in the pole vault as well. Bar's gone up to 5.75, so just 5 centimetres higher, and if he has a vault like his previous one at 5.70, he won't have any problems with that.
Well, that pole vault competition continues. We're going to have to leave you very shortly. There are the winners today. Some special performances just about in every discipline. Wherever you look, Veronica Campbell-Brown, that 200-metre win was fantastic. 21.98. Teddy Tamgo, remember, 17 metres 98, the third longest jump in history to win that triple jump competition. Karen Clement opening proceedings with 47.86 in the 400-metre hurdles, and it just got better and better as the meeting wore on. Wonderful days athletics here at the Akan Stadium in New York. The next event on July the 3rd, in about 3 weeks' time, will be over here in the USA, in Eugene. We'll be there once again, of course. Steve Cram and myself, Tim Hutchings.